Hey, ladies, it's PJ Dixon, the love guru. I love to say that. I know I've said that before, but I love it. I am with a remarkable woman, Justine Arian. She is a transformational coach who works with women specifically to help them find their authentic self, their authentic voice, and what they were meant to do in the world. I had an intended to have, this is the first time I've actually spoken with her sort of live. I had scheduled a maybe 5-10 minute call with her to see if she was a good fit for the call. And I think we talked, what, like an hour or something like that?
Yeah.
And we corresponded with these long emails back and forth. So I'm super excited to see what this conversation brings for you. She's amazingly intelligent, very well spoken, deep, heartfelt, insightful. So it's going to be a really good conversation. Justine, will you tell the beautiful ladies that are listening a little bit about who you are, where you came from, what's going on in your business right now, who you work with, anything that you feel is deeply delicious, important information or relevant for the lovely ladies listening?
Yes, I would love to. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I started my journey about 13 years ago as a life coach. And, I always knew that I wanted to empower women in
Mm.
some way, like from a young age. And I never knew exactly what that meant or what that would look like.
Mhm.
But, and this is part of my story that when I was young, I was born cross-eyed. I had, yeah, I had two surgeries by the age of 10
Wow.
and and was bullied in elementary school. And, I just I knew what it felt like to receive that negative attention, and to be ridiculed and to kind of feel alone. And so I had vowed that I would always stand up for other people and girls, especially who may have felt the same way as I did.
Mhm.
And on top of that, I have a brother who's older than me, who basically was considered genius as a child, and very, very intelligent. And so I always sort of was under his shadow of, well, he's intelligent. So what am I? And I'm not attractive. I'm not intelligent. These were my conclusions that I drew as a child.
Yeah.
And but I was always very friendly and outgoing, had a good personality, and so that's what kind of carried me through. Is that I made friends easily, and I stood up for people, and people liked me because I always wanted the best for people, and I always wanted to make a difference in people's lives, and people got that. So I was throughout school, I was in leadership. I was always in leadership positions. I always knew I was a leader, and like I said, I always knew that I wanted to do something with women's empowerment and never knew what that vehicle would be.
Mhm.
So in 2003, my mom, of all people, introduced me to the world of coaching. And back then, it was, what is that? It's life coaching. But it really opened me up to like, this is it. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. This is how I'm going to impact women. And I had worked with teen pregnancy prevention after college. And, and I had this belief that I wasn't smart enough to go to college.
Mhm.
And then I got accepted to all 5 universities I applied to. I graduated with honors. And when I looked at other people, that were at the university level and compared myself, which I'm going to talk about this later about self-comparison. But when I compared myself, I was like, oh, what was I thinking? I'm definitely smart enough to be here.
That's what I was going to say. And it's funny because I introduced you as intelligent,
Yeah,
right? How funny is that? And I didn't know any of this story.
yeah. So I know it's funny, and how we can defy all of our, our limiting beliefs that hold us back. We can overcome them. And so I'm going to talk to you about that today too. But, and so really I stepped into this whole new version of myself, and I saw that, yes, I am intelligent. Yes, I am beautiful. I am all of these things, and I have a big contribution to make. And for me, that is key, is that when we connect to something greater than ourselves, when we feel part of something bigger and we feel like we're contributing, then our self-worth rises, then we can truly take the pressure off of ourselves, and we can put it, we can find our strengths, find our unique value, find our unique contribution, and we can put it out there in the world so that it's making a positive impact. And that's really the core of the work that I do, is helping women come to know the truth of who they are, their unique impact and purpose in the world, and then making a positive contribution through that.
So let me ask you a question. You said something really interesting. You said when you realize you're part of something bigger and you're contributing, is that something bigger? What, instead of me putting words into your mouth or making assumptions, what does that mean to you? Or what could that mean to the ladies listening?
Yeah, so it could mean a few things. I think that, well, I know that we are social creatures and that we are never alone. And so oftentimes we can feel alone or feel isolated, even as an entrepreneur or, somebody who is doing the work. It can often feel isolating and we can feel like we're alone. However, we never are alone. And so a couple of ways that we can connect to that something bigger are, one is through spirituality. It's really looking at how we are all interconnected in the world. And, whatever spirituality may mean for you or for, whoever's listening, watching this, it'll be different, but feeling part of a universe of something bigger going on. I mean, I don't know exactly what it is that's going on out there personally, but I know I'm part of something bigger universally that's happening here. And when I connect to that, I don't feel alone and I feel unstoppable and I feel like I can, change the world. And so that's one aspect. And then the other one is the idea of really figuring out, and it's not even figuring out, it's allowing our purpose to be revealed to us, right? And so when we are in understanding of what our purpose is. And when I talk about purpose, to me, it's really the impact that we're having on others. And so we go through life having an impact, either knowing or unknowingly. We are impacting people every day by who we're being, right? So we can consciously choose the impact that we want to have and that we're here to make by embracing our true authentic selves, right? And being fully self-expressed. And when we do that, we're making the impact that we're here to make and therefore fulfilling our life purpose. The way that we do that is the expression of our purpose, right? Like, so, me being a life coach, transformational coach, speaker, author, all of those things, that's an expression of my purpose. But my purpose really is to create the container and hold the space for other people to really step into their own power, their own beauty, their own brilliance, and to really come to know who they are so they can feel really good about themselves and live joyful, fulfilled lives. And that's really the core of my purpose. So when we're connected to that purpose, which is something definitely greater than us, right? It makes us feel like our life is worth living. There's meaning. It brings meaning to our life.
How does someone find that? Because, Buddha said that one of the most important things to do is be true to yourself or find out who you are, right? And one of the hardest things for women to do is figure out who they are.
Yeah.
Like, not just women. And I mean, I didn't want it to sound like that. Like, people in general, like, who am I? Like, okay, great. Like, I'm fulfilling my purpose by doing something, but like, is this really my purpose? Is this what I'm supposed to be doing? How do I find that?
Yeah.
And do I have to find that to be happy? Or, do I have to find that to have self-love? Like, is there a way that I can love myself and then find my purpose?
Yeah. So great. Yeah. That it all starts within. all of it. So I would say that the first step is to really begin to look at, you know, the outside influences and to begin to quiet those and go inward. And I think we give our power away when we look for external validation, when we look for, you know, you to tell me who I am or what I should be doing, right? The choices that I should be making for my life. If I'm looking for you to validate that, I'm giving you my power. And so I say, begin to go within, begin to look inside, begin to reconnect to this. And when we talk about love, you know, love is just, for me, it's really an acceptance. It's a total acceptance of what is and what isn't, right? So it's like, if you can be with all of who you are and who you are not, right? It's a total acceptance. It's a self-acceptance. And when you can be, you know, in that place, then you can accept the things about yourself that you may not have previously accepted, that you may not like, or that you may want to change, or that other people have told you weren't good, you know? And so getting to this place of self-acceptance really, to me, is where we start. You know, that's where we start with the true loving yourself from within. And that means getting quiet, you know, for one. It means, you know, reconnecting to love, because we all are love. I mean, we are born love, right? And then as we go through life, we learn to disconnect from that. We learn to, you know, as a child, we take on all these beliefs about ourselves and the world based on our experiences. And many of them are false beliefs. And they are what guide our choices and our self-esteem and our, you know, ability to love ourselves and other people. And until we can bring light to them and recognize what those beliefs are, those conclusions that we drew as a child that really don't serve us, until we can do that work, we're going to continue to live out those beliefs, and they're going to continue to limit us from our potential. So it's really beginning to look at, you know, what are the conclusions that I drew? What are my beliefs? And oftentimes we need the help of somebody else, a coach or somebody else trained to help us begin to look at these, you know, and put light on our beliefs. So I know, like, I said a lot and I didn't come back full circle, but
well, let me pull out a couple pieces. Originally, when you first started talking, I thought you defined what love was to you. But then I heard you say, we are love. We are born love. We are love. So what is love to you? How would you define love? Because you'd given what I thought was a definition earlier. All that is, I think, is what you said. And then you said we are born love. So what is love to you? What does that mean?
Well, it's this unconditional feeling. So for me, love, like I can not like you, but I can still love you.
Yeah.
Right?
My mom used to say that when I was a kid. I love you, but I do not like you right now.
Yeah. Or I don't like what you're doing, right?
Right.
That's where the unconditional part comes in, because, you know, when we have children, we love them unconditionally, hopefully, right? And, you know, they can drive us crazy, but we're going to love them through all of that. And, you know, so it's acceptance of what is, who they are and who they are not. You know, it's like I can have expectations about who I think they should be or what they should be doing. And if they're not fulfilling those expectations, I still love them. So it's still an acceptance that they are and are not exactly as, you know, as is. It's like this, in other words, maybe lack of a resistance to what is, you know? So I know it's kind of a trippy way to think about it.
It's interesting because you also said, you're sort of tying it into what you said earlier, and I wanted to come back to this too, so it's actually really perfect. You had earlier said something about accepting everything about you, everything. Let me think of how you said it. You said accepting everything that you are and are not.
Yeah.
And most people say accept who you are. Right?
Yeah.
But you added the accept who you are and what you are not, or what you are and what you are not. And so when you add that piece in, what happens is instead of dreaming about, gosh, I wish I was something different, you just accept who you are and accept that you are not this other thing in this moment,
Yes.
right? Because if you want to be something different than what you are right now, we can just take action in that direction. But accept where you are presently and what you are and what you are not presently. Once you get a feel for that, then you can make choices. Do you think that it's important? I mean, you're talking about love, right? So do you think it's important for women to have that self-love for themselves, or that self-love for themselves? Yes, love for themselves.
Absolutely, of course. And I think,
Why?
well, because I think women, we completely undervalue our contribution.
Yeah.
I see so many smart, beautiful, kind-hearted, loving women who have something amazing to offer.
Mhm.
And they don't recognize their own power.
Right.
They don't have confidence. They don't have the courage to step into that.
Mhm.
And it really, it kills me to see that. This is what drives me and I'm passionate about, is really helping women connect to that, because we really have a contribution to make. And you can see, things beginning to shift with like the feminine movement, and it's not just the women's movement, but it's more of this shift of feminine energy and influence, right? And it's a different way of doing things than the norm, than they've been traditionally. It's a very male dominant society. It's always been run that way. Things aren't working right now. If you look at the state of affairs in the world, things are not working the way they've been going. And it's time for a new energy to step in and to shift what's happening in this world. And I say that's the female energy. I say it's a softer energy, but yet still very powerful. It's a loving energy. It's an accepting energy. It's an energy that's inclusive and collaborative, right? And so I think that we as women have not yet recognized our place and the power and potential that we have to make an impact in the world. And I say, let's not get political now, but if you look at the times, and we have actually a viable woman candidate running for office.
Absolutely.
And it just shows that now's the time, that there's a receptiveness to that, historically, this is the time for the shift in women having more power and influence, and really coming to know who we are so that we can each make a contribution in the way that we're meant to. And that is going to look different for every person. And I don't care but I don't care if it's that you want to make a difference in your home with your family, in your neighborhood, your small community, in your church, in your workplace, or, on a global scale, something much larger. Like, I don't care what it is. I just want you, and not you, PJ, but you're already doing it. So, but I'm speaking to the ladies here. I just want you to really recognize that you're here for something bigger. And until you can really love yourself and really step confidently and courageously into who you are in a connected way, that you will probably feel like something's missing. You will probably feel like you're not totally fulfilled, you're not totally happy, that you're not totally living on purpose. Because, like I said, again, we're here for something bigger, and we're meant to fulfill on that.
And all of this is exactly why I wanted to do this summit, right? I value femininity so much. I was raised largely by a single mom. She was very feminine. I love the natural nurturing that women bring. His Holiness the Dalai Lama said Western women will save the world. And my belief in that is that because they're still feminine and yet they're also empowered and assertive, not necessarily aggressive, but assertive, and they set the ground rules and they set the parameters for themselves and for others. Western, strong, healthy Western women are nurturing themselves so that they can nurture other people. And actually, we see a change where men for a long time weren't connected to their emotions, and they weren't good communicators. But because we have such a rise in single moms raising children, I personally have seen through my own clients and a variety of different uh, categories or demographics, that a lot of the men or young men that are now coming up would rather talk about their feelings, would rather have a conversation with their girlfriend or their wife and figure that out and work that out. And so I think that Western women are already doing their part. You said some really cool stuff, and let's get to it, right? Um, you're talking about fulfilling their purpose, right? So what are some of the biggest obstacles to self-love and consequently fulfilling their bigger purpose?
Okay.
And how do they get past some of those obstacles? Because
Yeah.
that's what it's really about. Like, we can talk about what the obstacles are, but how do we deal with those? How do we get past those? How do we surmount those?
Yeah. So I think we've touched on, so I want to talk about two. So I
Perfect.
think we've touched on both of them. And,
Yes.
the first one is the idea of these limiting beliefs. And I call them the inner bully. We all have an inner bully, and maybe more than one. And, and, she or he came to us at a really early age. And she is the one who tells us we're not enough, we're not good enough, we're not lovable, we don't deserve that, we can't have that, who do you think you are? That bully that constantly is feeding us the BS, right? And she or he is so believable because they've been with us our whole lives. They're very tricky, they're very slick. They can say things that we will totally believe to be true because we have no way of separating truth from what that inner bully is telling us at a young age. In our child mind, we drew a conclusion about something that we have no way of separating from until we become an adult, and then we can look at it with a new lens of like, okay, is that really true?
Mm-hmm.
What is the truth? And so I think that, the beginning to, there's a few things I want to say. I mean, one, there's so much I want to say. It's like,
I know, like 45 minutes is never long enough. A lot of these interviews have already, gone beyond the 45-minute mark.
yeah.
So do the best that you can, and the rest, if they, at the end they want to know more, they can absolutely reach out to you, and that's part of it, right? Let's make the connections.
Yeah. Okay. So I think that, what I would tell women to do is, as we're beginning to kind of unravel these limiting beliefs, because I think that's where it all starts. I think that we all need to look at, okay, what are my beliefs and how are they holding me back? And how are they impacting my view of myself, the choices that I make in my life, and how I'm living? And when we can begin to, put a light on them and diffuse some of the power that the inner bully has over us, then we can begin to make new choices, better choices, more in aligned with who we truly are, right? So I would say, start there. I'd also say, cut out the comparison trap. So remember earlier I was saying, that I would compare myself to other people. We all do it. We all do it. We're social creatures. And so we're looking for external validation. We're looking for other people to validate who we are, to say it's okay, and you can, yes, you should do that. Or yes, it's okay if you do that. And rather than saying, you know what, here's my worth. Here's my strengths, my natural given talents. Here are my values, right? Like these are the things that are important to me. So when you get really clear on what are your values that are unique to you, that when you honor those values, you're living a life that's true to you, that's meaningful, that's fulfilling, that's on purpose, that feels balanced and good, right? And oftentimes people don't even know what their values are. They don't even know how to define a value. I did a workshop the other day with some women, and they were going, oh, is that a value? I never knew that, so because we were talking about some different words and like honor,
Right.
One of the ones I think that came up. And she says, oh, I didn't know honor was a value. And I said, yeah, there's a million different words that are values. And so getting the clarity on what your values are, and then inserting those values into your life in a real way, in a way that They show up in your health, in your relationships, in your work, in your career, in your home environment, in every aspect of your life. When you're consciously inserting your values, your life is going to work for you, right? So that's one key, is if your life feels like it's not working for you, look at where you might be stepping on your values. So looking at your strengths, looking at your values, looking at your natural gifts, looking at your life experiences who helped shape who you are and the beliefs that you have, and the ahas, the transformations. I mean, we've all had experiences that have helped us grow, right? We've had, some people have had traumatic experiences. Some people have had experiences that at the time they thought, why me? Why is this happening to me, right? We've all had them. And then when we can look back on those experiences and go, oh, okay, I can bring meaning to this experience and I can grow and learn from it. And I can take that and move it forward and apply it in my life in a way that makes my life better. That's when we can say we've lived well, right? That's when we can say we're transforming as a person.
So no matter what they've gone through, looking at it and pulling out, extrapolating the positive that was within it, or the opportunity for learning or growth.
Exactly. And, there's a gift. I was a contributing co-author to Lisa Nichols' book, The Gifts That Came Wrapped in Sandpaper.
Wow.
Really about, and it's really about, something you were given in life that at the time felt insurmountable and turned out to actually be a gift. Right? So it just speaks to that. What we're saying is that every opportunity that we're faced with can be seen as a gift. And, it's about how we choose to look at something, right? And so I'm getting a little ahead of myself here because I want to speak to that in a minute about perspective.
Sure.
But I'm going back to just kind of complete out what I was saying, is that looking at all of these things, our gifts, our skills, our life experiences, our learnings, our ahas, it all informs who we are at the core and who we're becoming, right? And when we get that clarity, this is a process I take women through. And it's really looking at who are you and what's unique about you, and what's your life story that really, has shaped and molded you and speaks to the contribution that you're here to make.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's one of the ways we can really begin to embrace ourselves and love ourselves more, is by connecting the dots of our life story and who we are at the core. And then, I was saying drowning out the outside influences, right? So looking at, where are we looking for validation? And why are we doing that anyway? Nobody else is here to live your life, but you.
Say that again.
Nobody else is here to live your life.
What does that mean? This is juicy and delicious. I get it. But let's talk to the core. Let's talk to the heart, because this could be the one piece that changes things for people.
Yeah. So it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks about what you're doing, what you're saying, what you're feeling, or why you're here. It doesn't matter. You don't need that external validation, because you're here for a very specific purpose. And that is to fulfill on your life's work. Okay. So when you're clear about what your life's work is, about who you are, then it doesn't matter. Nobody else is here to live your life. This is your journey, your path, your power. Right?
What if I'm not clear about what my purpose is?
Then get clear.
So I get clear before I realize that no one else is responsible for my life but me.
Well, no, I think that right now in this moment, we can choose. It's a choice to take responsibility for our life, for our happiness, for our joy, right? For beginning to discover the truth of who we are, for beginning to discover what our purpose is, right? It's a choice. And I say, you know what? Today I'm making the choice to be open, right? To receive and allow and not resist what is, right? Because it's when we get into that resistance place about I should know, I should be doing more. I should, like all the shoulds. And we have this ridiculous, like critical, critical eye on ourselves constantly. And, it makes us feel small. It makes us play small and feel small. So get rid of the shoulds and just make the commitment today that, you know what, right now in this moment, exactly where I am is perfect for me right now. Like this is where I am, is where my life has led me to this moment. And I have choice in where I go next, right? Like in this moment, I can create anything from nothing.
Yes.
Right?
How?
Yeah.
How do I create anything from nothing? If I feel like I've been beaten down, if I feel like either in an abusive relationship or just in a relationship where there's not much appreciation, and I'm tired from taking care of the kids, and I've got to go to work, and I just never have time for myself. How do I do that?
Yeah. Well, I like to say it starts with self-compassion. I think that we're all doing the best we can with what we have in any given moment.
Okay.
And so when we can give ourselves that compassion of like, look, here's where I am now. And here's, maybe I've made some bad choices, or, maybe I've participated in ways that haven't served me. And that's okay. It's okay, because everything is perfect right now in this moment. And there's an opportunity here for me right now. And so to give ourselves that compassion, I mean, we as women, we give so much to others. We're so nurturing. We're very compassionate. We're giving, loving people. And I see that through and through in all the women that I meet and talk with and coach. And it's just a universal kind of theme. And where we fall short is in giving that to ourselves. We don't give ourselves that kind of compassion. We don't give ourselves that kind of love and self-care that we give to everybody else. And oftentimes we have this false belief that self-care is selfish. And let me just tell you, it couldn't be further from the truth. We need to give to ourselves first. We need to fill up our own cup so that we can give from our overflow. Okay.
Self-care is not selfish. We need to give to ourselves first so that we can give to others.
Give from our overflow.
Give from our overflow. Yeah. So love ourselves so much that it just expresses outwards from us.
Yes.
That I'm full, I'm good, let me share what extra I have.
Yes, and that is what I'm talking about when I talk about the impact. If you are love and you're being love, if you're loving yourself, then that will overflow and impact everyone around you. You will call in more love simply by being. So bring that compassion first and foremost to yourself, no matter where you've been in your life on your journey up until this point. It's okay. It's all good, and you're good. And everything's fine in this moment, because that's all we have is this moment. Yeah. And everything is fine in this moment. Yeah. And every moment after this is an opportunity to create a new possibility for your life.
I love this.
Yeah.
You said earlier about making choices, and I've asked several guests about this, and this is important because I feel like a lot of people who may feel disempowered or like life is being done to them don't know how to make a choice, and I equate that back to the inability to make a decision or struggle with making a decision. I equate personally to lacking a particular level of confidence in a particular area. So I'm having a hard time making that decision right now because maybe I don't know what you want, and you're asking me to make a decision for you. And so I'm like, well, I don't know. Like, do you want this? Do you want that? And so I can't make a decision because I don't know what you want. So what are some what are some techniques that might help women learn to make decisions quicker and easier, and then accept that decision, even if it winds up not being what they had hoped it would turn out to be?
It's interesting that you bring this up, because actually this is something that I'm going to be giving away as my
Perfect. I didn't even know.
Yeah.
That's right. This is the whole thing about this, right? It's all about the abundance, and it's all about spirit flowing through. This is a gift to the ladies that are listening. I
Yeah.
put this together because I believe in self-love. I believe in loving yourself because when you love yourself, you have something you can share with other people. If I invite you to my house and I say, hey, why don't you come over for a barbecue? And we open up my refrigerator door, because that's the noise all refrigerator doors make, right? And I don't have any food, how can I share what I don't have?
Yeah.
And if I don't have love and it's not overflowing for myself and minimally acceptance and like, right?
Yeah.
If I don't have that, how can I then share that with others?
Exactly. You
You
can't.
know, and even if I do, how long can I share that with others before I'm depleted?
Right. Exactly. And how true is it? How true.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
if we're putting on a front or a facade like, yeah, everything's okay, and yeah, I love myself, but really inside we're dying or we're hurting,
right.
we're loathing, then what's the point? It's like, let's be authentic, let's be real, let's ask for help.
Yeah.
If we're not feeling great, if we are needing support, I mean, that's another thing that we as women lack to do, is ask for support. We feel like we can do it all alone. We shouldn't have to ask for help. I don't want to bother anybody else. I don't want to burden anyone with my problems.
Mhm.
So I'll just hold it inside and I'll deal with it, right?
Yeah.
And that's what we do. And I'm saying that is such a disservice that we're
Mhm.
doing ourselves and others, because people want to help
Mhm.
us. People can, and they want to, and they rally when given the opportunity. What I know is that every time I'm going through something difficult and I share it with people, they show up tenfold for me. It's like, it's amazing. And for me, I'm very much a social animal, and and I'm an extrovert. So I love being around people, and that's how I fill up my cup, right? Is I get that, fuel from others, and I surround myself with people who are supportive, who see my potential. They see my beauty. They see the truth of who I am. And that's who I surround myself with. And when I do that, I can get my cup filled up by being around them. So that's one of the tricks, to kind of reconnecting and to feeling good about ourselves, is who are we surrounding ourselves with? So think about that. And it really truly is a gift you're giving yourself and others to be able to ask for support. And I guarantee you, if you're watching this right now, that you are a person who would step up and raise your hand right away as soon as you knew somebody you love needed support, right?
Right, right. Always about the giving, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Except to themselves.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
So how do they make that decision to give to themselves? How do they and if they're asking for help, who do they go to ask for help? Because
Yeah.
some people are going to take advantage of that.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's a great point, because I think we need to identify who are the people in your life who are truly there for you, who truly care about your best interests, who you feel safe with, right? So I'm a huge advocate for people being authentic and vulnerable. And it hasn't always been this way, because I'm just going to go real quick on a side note here, but I think it's important. I have always been a really strong woman, and so much to my detriment that I was afraid to be vulnerable with people. I was afraid to show vulnerability because I saw that as weakness. And in my relationships, in my romantic relationships and my friendships, everything, it was like I couldn't have that true level of intimacy with anybody because I was afraid to be vulnerable, and I wouldn't show my true self. Right. And because I feared, not being seen as strong. And so that hurt me. And I always longed for this thing that I could never have because I wasn't willing to be vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
So I did the work. I overcame that.
Mm-hmm.
When I split with the father of my two children, I mean, that was one of my biggest, life decisions. It was a very tough decision to make, but I truly did not feel fulfilled in that relationship. And I knew that it wasn't going to change. And so I had to make the decision for myself and my children to get out of that situation and to make myself happy, and I did that. And after that, I did a lot of work on myself. And I made the decision also that I was going to be vulnerable. I was going to show more of myself, break down my walls for the sake of intimacy and connection, because connection is my number one value. And
Mm.
I was preventing myself from having that true deep connection.
Interesting.
So back to what we're saying is that, and I'm not saying just go out there and share your shit with the world, like don't just, throw it all out there for the world to see and be vulnerable with everybody, because that could hurt you. That could, come back and get you. But what I'm saying is create the safe container for yourself. Create a safe container and then be vulnerable within that container.
Mm-hmm. I think children do that naturally. I think they test the bounds and the limits of what their parents will let them get away with so that they can see where they're free.
Yes.
And if you as a lady go out and test friendships, and I don't want you to test friendships and think, oh, well, I don't really trust that they're my friends, so I have to test it. PJ should test it. That's not quite exactly what I mean. But if you share a piece of your intimacy, or a piece of your heart, or a piece of your fears or your worries or your doubts about yourself, and somebody embraces that and they protect that, obviously somebody you can go back to. If somebody interrupts you, judges you, or tells you what to do, look, you just need to do this.
Yeah.
No, stop worrying about that. You just need to do this. I'm not sure you're going to feel safe there. And if you don't feel safe, might not be the person to share your deepest, intimate parts with.
And
Because,
and
please go ahead.
what's speaking to me about what you're saying, it's really about trusting your intuition too. It's really about listening to your heart and your intuition. And I have to say, PJ, that, before you and I even talked on the phone, when we were just emailing each other, like you had these intuitive hits about what you could say to me that felt very open, right? And it was very direct, and it was very, I'm going through a personal situation where I had sudden hearing loss 2 weeks ago in my right ear, and it's been a crazy experience. But you said some things to me that, and you set up a container for me that I really trusted you and felt comfortable opening up to you, and I didn't even know you. And we established this beautiful connection from the get-go, because we were in tune with our hearts. We were in tune with our intuition, So I would say, when we're looking at being vulnerable with others, it's like really tune in to your heart and to your inner knowing about, does this feel safe?
Mm-hmm.
Does this feel right? It's not even an intellectual thing so much. It's like, how does this feel to me being with this person in this person's space?
It's interesting when we look at masculinity and femininity, right? If we just stereotype for a moment, just generalize for a moment, masculinity is about physical strength, right? And I'm very much generalizing. And so utilizing that physical strength to protect a space or to protect people, right? Not necessarily physically, don't go out and fight everybody. That's not what I'm saying, but create a safe space for the woman or your children to be in. And I know that this is largely women listening. But when we look at femininity, there's this nurturing, there's this softness, there's this sense of awareness for your feelings and your senses. So there's this sensuality that women are typically more in tune with, and they're much more in tune with their feelings. And so if we honor that part of us, right? Like you said earlier, like honor is one of the values. If we honor that part of us, then it becomes stronger, it gets nurtured, it gets healthier, it gets happier. So find that key value for you. Like you said, your key value is connection, right? And when you said honor that value, I also looked at value. I made this connection. I said, okay, value is belief, right? Belief in what is important to me. And then also that comes from um, um, maybe it comes from some programming, but also maybe it comes from something deeper, your heart, maybe your soul, maybe God. And so I call it soul integrity, and I suggest that women don't compromise their integrity. And you said, don't step on your values. We're saying the same thing. Honor what is important to you. And when you honor what is important to you and you move through the world, protecting that, honoring that, leading with that, allowing that to infuse within all conversations and actions you take, you start to become much more, I'm going to say powerful, but it's not the exact word that I'm looking for, but it's, it's good. You become much more powerful. You become much more aligned with the true you,
Yeah.
which is what you're talking about. Because when you become aligned with that true you, now don't you find that you start to realize, here is my mission. Here is what I came to do. This is what's important to me.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely.
Please go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, actually, no, go ahead. I want
Okay. So we're nearing the end of our conversation, and as much as I would love to continue to talk with you, um, real quickly, you've come to a place where you love yourself, I presume. Is that acceptable for me to make that presumption?
absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely, and a big, beautiful smile. I love that. And was it a process, or was there one moment where everything turned around for you?
Definitely a process. It was definitely, I think, a couple of things I would say is one is really taking action, like getting into action around things we don't believe we can do.
Oh,
Or, it's like challenging ourselves, pushing
okay,
ourselves out of our comfort zone.
okay.
And when we begin to do that on a regular basis, I mean, you can start small and then go bigger, but when we're continually doing that, we're continuing to defy these limiting beliefs that say, we are not enough, we can't do that, we don't deserve that, we can't have that, right? So that was one of the things, is I just kept pushing and challenging myself and getting into action around things and proving myself that I could do that, and that I am enough and I am good enough. And so I would say that's one huge thing that has been part of my process. And I think it's also, like I alluded to earlier, is that when I connect to my purpose and my passion and my impact, right? When I'm connected to the contribution that I'm here to make, it no longer becomes about me.
Right.
I can get behind my value. I know that I have value. And I know that it's to connect with the right people that I'm meant to connect with. And if I'm not honoring that by living that, then I'm going to continue to second guess myself. But when I'm out there in the world doing the work I'm supposed to do because I'm connected to my purpose and I'm making a contribution, I can just keep connecting to that and knowing, standing in my value in that bigger arena. And that makes it not about me anymore. And so I can feel confident. I just keep going back to that. And that's what I would love for all women, is to really find, what is your thing? What is your contribution that you're here to make? What's the impact you're here to have? And just keep connecting to that. Because when you do, you'll know your value.
Beautiful, beautiful. And it just opened me up and made me feel light, and I took a deep breath, just knowing that that's the truth.
Yeah.
What is, to wrap this up or begin to wrap this up, what is one thing that ladies can do right now as soon as this interview is done, that they can go and do right now that will begin the process of self-love for them right now?
All right. So the thing that I want everyone to begin doing right now is to change their perspective and to begin looking for the proof that you are enough.
Say
Okay.
that again, because we often look for the proof that I'm not.
I know. So this is where we're changing the perspective. And I want you to look for the proof that you are enough, because whatever we focus on is what we get. If we focus on our limitations, right, our lacks and limitations, then there's proof that we are limited. We can find that proof for whatever we're looking for. So when we focus on that we are enough, and we look for the proof of that, it's there too. It's
Give
there.
me an example of how would I know, what's one thing for yourself in your own life where when you started looking for proof that I am enough, how did that show up? How will I know, or how will they know that I'm enough?
Yeah. Well, so for me, let's go back to my example of school, for instance. Okay. when I began to say, okay, I am smart enough to be at this university, right? And then I started looking for proof of that, rather than before it was like, oh, I'm not smart enough, and here's all the reasons why, and I looked for proof of that. But when that shifted for me, I began to look for, I am smart enough, and here's the proof that I am smart enough. And I just over the course of my life, and I still continue to do it today. It's a practice every day to continue to reinforce the beliefs that serve us, right? So for me to say I am intelligent and I am smart, and I know that I am at the core. And yeah, there's certain things that I'm totally what's the word? I don't want to use a negative word for myself, but I'm definitely, I lack in certain areas like technology. I suck at technology. I'm just going to tell you. And, I know, what my limitations are, and that's okay. I embrace that. And so, but that doesn't make me dumb, and it doesn't make me incapable. It just means that's not my thing. So let me focus on what my thing is and my things are and what I am capable of, and find the proof that I am capable and that I am enough and that I can do it. And everybody can do that in their own lives. And it depends on what's important to you. So looking at those limiting beliefs, again, going back to that, what is the main one or two that are kind of, resurfacing over and over in your life that are really limiting you from your potential? And let's look at rewording those beliefs to something in the positive and looking for the proof that that's true. So that's right. So start gathering proof, even in the smallest ways. I mean, if your thing is like, I'm not lovable, and you have children, you can look for, do your children love you? Well, how do you know that they love you? Right? Look for the proof that you actually are lovable, or whatever your thing, fill in the blank, that I am ... Look for the proof of that.
So when you said earlier, if your issue is I'm not enough, look for proof that I am enough. You didn't necessarily mean globally or on a macrocosm. You were able to pull it down into I'm enough in this one area, and choose an area and recognize and look for proof that I'm enough in this one area, and then move on to another area.
This is a micro movement, baby. It's like, take those baby steps, Identify one thing, just one thing that you can begin to shift a belief around. It can be the tiniest little thing. I don't care. But you'll start, be an investigator. Start gathering proof. Be a detective, and looking for the proof that you are enough. And every day in some small way, just keep, and as you gather more and more, those little micro steps are going to turn into huge, like this macro movement. And, you'll pretty soon, you're going to have a completely different mindset about that for yourself, and you won't even know how you got there.
Yeah. I love it. It's great. It's fantastic. And ladies, that's what you can do right now. Just take a minute, figure out one area of your life that you are good enough, and start recognizing and looking for evidence and proof that you are good enough, that you are bringing a real sincere value. Justine, do you have something that you'd like to make available, or an offer that you would like to give to these ladies?
I would love to, actually, yeah. And I love how you went right to it with about choices, because I feel like, this is me too. And I still struggle with this as far as, making choices and then feeling good about my choice and moving forward, right? And so what I've done is I've created a 7-step process where it'll not only help you make more confident choices, but it's also, begins to look at your values and your vision and all these other things that'll serve you in other areas of your life that you can apply to other areas of your life as well. And so it's kind of doing like an internal inventory, and looking inward, right? Rather than the external validation that we were talking about. It's a way to begin to cultivate that self-belief and that strength and going inward to find the answers. And so it's actually, I've created it as a 7-day e-course. It's very, very simple. It's very basic. Each day you'll get a worksheet. I do a guided meditation on one of the days. And it's for, busy moms. It's for anybody who doesn't have a lot of time. You'll get one thing a day. And at the end of the 7 days, you'll have a whole workbook. So, and then at the end of that, I make a special offer to do a private session with me that at an amazing price. So it's, if you're not that interested in the making choices because you feel like you're good at that, then just do it just to get the special offer at the end, if you would like to have a session with me where you can really look at who are you powerfully at the core of who you are and why are you here, and what's the contribution that you're here to make so that you can live life on purpose with meaning and feel fulfilled and joyful.
Super important, super important. Thank you so much for making that offer. I really appreciate it. And ladies, I'll make sure that that link is in the email. So it just is convenient for you to click on and go right to that 7-day course.
Yeah.
Justine, phenomenal, beautiful, amazing, intelligent, delightful, insightful, courageous. I love you. I think you're amazing. And that's what it's for, right? Because the bigger you are, the more love you bring. And it's the law of reciprocity. I want to give to you so you can continue to give to others.
Yes.
But I mean all of it too. Thank you so much for honoring us with your wisdom and connecting with everyone so well and dropping some juicy, delicious information on everyone. Any last goodbyes or farewells or remembers?
Yes, I must say to you, PJ, thank you so much for this opportunity. Thank you for creating this summit for women. To have an advocate, to have a supporter, to have somebody like you in our corner who sees the amazing gift that's waiting when women discover their own self-love and, and bring that out. Like, you're holding the container for us. And for you to be a man to do that is such a beautiful gift. And if we had more men like you, this world would definitely be a much better place. I mean, it would definitely not be the state that it's in right now. So I thank you so much because you're really making a difference in the world. You really are.
Justine, thank you. I'm really honored by that. And I always say I just want to be a good man. I just want to be a good man. I want to make my mom proud, and I want to know that I'm a pretty spiritual guy. So I want to know that when I pass and move on, that this particular consciousness, this particular life had value to others. And I want to start with the best. I want to start with women. So thank you so much. I'm really honored by that. And it's truly, truly a blessing for me to be able to do these interviews. I have really enjoyed every one of these, and I have a few more to do, and I'm super excited about that. But ladies, not but, and if I didn't have an audience, it wouldn't matter what I thought or what I felt or what container I might have created or held. It's because of you that when you show up and you learn and you implement and you change and you make the difference in the world, I'm just hopefully inspiring or making a connection for you to be inspired to go out and change the world with everyone else you touch. So go out and be your full feminine, glorious self and share that love with yourself first and then with the world.